Hello and welcome to The Life You're Made For. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Penny. Often our world feels reactive, confusing, and chaotic. On this show, we're going to slow down together. Take a breath, listen, and learn. We'll be joined in conversations with influential thinkers who will help us make new connections, understand our unique potential, check the beliefs we hold, and learn how to overcome unexpected challenges. I know that each and every one of us holds our own inner clarity, confidence, and courage, what I call 3C living and leading. So let's go after it together. I'm cheering you on. Hello, everyone. I am so excited because today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to flip the script. I have my good friend, Kelley Gray, here, and I've asked her because she is a relational expert. She is a counselor, and she has worked for years with thousands, probably now, of clients on relationships. And it's the number one thing that comes up in my work with clients and coaching, but it's also, of course, the number one thing that comes up in her work. So I said, let's have some fun, Kelley. You've been on my show before, but how about you come on the show and you ask me questions? So that's a little bit what we're going to do today. So Kelley, say hi to everyone and tell them a little bit of who you are, what you do.
Hey guys, I'm Kelley Gray and I'm a private practice psychotherapist. I have worked in various capacities in the field of psych for 22, maybe 23 years now, 100 years now.
I'm sure it's 100.
And I love Heather, and I know Heather, and this subject of adult friendships specifically came up, and we just felt like there was so much to say, and we wanted y'all to benefit from just the collective wisdom nuggets that we were finding. And I found myself just wanting to keep asking Heather questions when we were talking about it last. So that's why I'm in charge today of Heather in this interview. So, calling Heather.
Yes.
Hey, I'm glad we're friends.
Me too. I'm glad we have a relationship, Kelley.
I'm glad that we have a relationship. You're a lovely addition to my world.
Thank you, my friend.
And we can just pick up. That was something we talked about a while back.
Yeah.
But that you can just pick up with. Okay. All right. My first question is, okay. So Heather, if you find for yourself or you're advising someone on, okay, my adult relationships are feeling kind of stale, or they're just revolving around kids' sports. They are wanting to find some new relationships, or even just figure out how to create deeper relationships. What is some of your advice that you offer to those souls?
Well, I've actually recently had to do this because a lot of my relationships did revolve around my family life and my kids. And I wasn't even aware of it. It just naturally happens, especially if you're meeting the same people every day, waiting for your kids' practice or picking them up from school or sitting there for 3 hours on the bleachers for their baseball games. These are all their dances. This is everything we did. It's shocking when they leave the house. No one quite told me this, that you lose a pretty significant circle of people that you no longer are really seen. And you didn't realize how much you were kind of getting fed by that relational connection. But it's probably not the type of friend that you would continue to cultivate after the family and the kids. And so all of a sudden you're left with a pretty significant void. So that's a little bit where I'm at with both of my kids launching a couple of years ago, and I'm an empty nest. I literally had to sit down and say, what type of friendships do I want to go after? I didn't realize I had to be that strategic because a lot of them were just falling in my lap. But all of a sudden it got really quiet quick. And I thought, what is this feeling? I thought, I think I'm lonely. And I hadn't felt lonely in a long time because of just the world and the dynamic that I'm in. So I think slowing it down and saying, what am I looking for? And I realized I was looking for some with more spiritual depth. And I have the bandwidth to actually have some deep thoughts instead of just trying to keep up with the kids, you know? And I think I had to be honest about that, what I really wanted. I didn't realize that was something that I felt like I wanted now. And then I also wanted some couple friends for my husband and I. We've married over 32 years. And we're like, who do we want to do with life with some couples? And we had a lot of family friends, like I said before, but to be able to now say we're moving into that empty nest stage where we want to cultivate some couple friends. So, and then he and I had to sit down and talk about, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? And what is it that we kind of want that would help us feel like we're feeling that little bit of that social need, and then really more of, I guess I want to say, that social desire for cultivating relationships.
Okay, wonderful. I'm hearing you say that some seasons are natural. They're for making friendships, and some seasons require intentionality.
Yes, well said.
So you are facing this season with a bit more intentionality. I totally agree with that. In my counseling practice, many years ago, I just came up with the term friendship shopping and said, you've just got to put a little bit of thought and effort into it. And and I think that there are several things that people can do to deepen and build their relationships. I feel like the building relationships was probably a little bit more intuitive, although we can talk about that in a minute. But I just want to ask you first, what impediments do you personally feel around developing friendships, or just speaking more generally, the wonderful humans we know? What do you feel like some of their main impediments are to initiating new or deepening existing?
Well, I'm thinking about a conversation I had recently with a very old friend. I mean, we go all the way back to college days. And she happened to move up here near me. And so we've been friends for a long time, but life got so busy with kids and just everything we were doing. And we had different ages of kids. So our paths were not crossing hardly at all. And I realized I missed her, but I felt a little insecure to reach out. I was like, does she want to hang out with me? And I probably stayed in that too long, to be honest. I mean, talk about a barrier. It can feel vulnerable to reach out, but you're not sure if they want to spend time with you. It feels junior high, but I want to say, do we ever grow out of junior high, Kelley?
Totally. No, ma'am. We do not. There will be a junior higher in residence inside of us.
Yes.
Forever.
Yes.
The junior higher, they can heal and they can mature, but no. Okay. I think maybe a better question is there any other impediment to developing friendships other than thinking, do they want me? Are they going to pick me?
Yeah. Are we looking for the same thing? So here's what I did do. After realizing I was a little lonely, I was missing her, and then I was feeling insecure, and then I identified what I wanted. I reached out. So I realized how much our own baggage of the past or other times being rejected by someone saying, no, I don't want to be your friend.
Totally.
And that's literally happened to me.
Absolutely all have been.
Yes.
Every human being.
We've all been unselected and we've been kicked off the cool table, right?
Totally.
So I think once I got past that, then I reached out to her and I said, hey, I'd love to have you over for a latte and for a walk. And it was so beautiful and rich. And then I was just honest. I miss you. It's been so busy. You know my style and my speed that I am so easy to just pick up where we left off, but I was feeling insecure. I didn't quite say it this way, but kind of the gist of, do you still want to be friends? That's kind of what I was.
That's so good.
Yeah. And she was so gracious and beautiful. I missed you too. I loved it. And so it just helped us create a little bit more of a connection. And I think being comfortable with the neediness. We don't like to feel needy, but we all are. And we need that social dynamic, especially for me. I'm in a stage where my life has gotten quieter on the social front. So I have to be a little more intentional. They're just not dropping in my life like they used to.
I fantasize about my house being quiet. I bet after a good 8 years of quiet, I'll think, who do I want to have come over? Well, Heather, that sounds like you did a very beautiful job being clear and courageous with your friend. And I agree. I'm finding that just speaking more plainly, it really actually works. I've joked with other moms that, because you can just feel that chemistry pretty
Mm-hmm.
quick if you just are
Mm-hmm.
clicking with
Yeah.
somebody. You feel it really quick when you're not clicking with people as well. And I have tons of those interactions, I promise. But with the ones that are clicking, I have honestly said, "Oh, we are already friends," or "I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
tell Riley that we're best friends now," or something like that. I'll just make jokes about
Yeah.
it. But that's my little way of telling them I like them so much. It's okay if they don't like me back, but I'm putting it out there. I'm just floating it out there.
I love
Um,
that.
I, I think we have such a fear of awkwardness, and
Yeah.
that drives me nuts as a therapist.
Yeah.
I would pitch to people. Um, I mean, some of my tips on the topic are, look around you. Who
Yeah.
is already in your life
Mm-hmm.
that you click with? Can you take one next step of
Mm-hmm.
friendship with
Mm-hmm.
them? And maybe it's going on a walk. Maybe it's picking up something at Costco that they talked about and putting it on their porch. Like
Yes.
there are just a million ways.
Yes.
But I'll have clients say, "Oh my God, I would feel so awkward. I feel so awkward." And I'm like, "Okay, but
Yeah.
then what happens?"
Yeah.
Nothing. Like,
Yeah.
we all get over awkwardness, but we can
Yeah.
totally avoid putting ourselves out there because we just don't want to feel like it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But we're waiting for everything to be totally natural.
Yeah.
Uh, like I've been talking about, it's not college where you're just
Yeah.
surrounded by your peer group of
Yeah.
everybody else who's looking for friends at the same time. So we have to mix things up a little bit.
Yeah. And I think too that, it just hitting me too last week. I have a friend who's going through cancer,
Mm.
and I could feel a little bit of the awkwardness of, I want to go visit her, but do not want to disturb her. And like,
Mm-hmm.
does she want visitors? So I felt it out in the back end, asked her husband.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And
That's so smart.
And honestly, a couple months ago, he's like, "Yeah, she can't handle it. She's got out surgery and everything else." And then he's like,
Mm-hmm.
recently, she's ready for visitors. And I'm said, I'm there and I'm bringing banana bread.
Oh.
So I just showed up trusting
Mm-hmm.
that she just wants someone to sit with her. I know when I've been in a very vulnerable, sick place, I'm like, does anybody care that I'm probably dying over here? Does anybody, is anyone
Literally
going
on
to,
the way out.
yes, is anyone going to sit with me and just say, I care that you're not doing well? And so I trusted that. And I think putting myself in their shoes, if I were suffering from cancer and it's been a long road, I just would want to know someone cared. I didn't have to do anything spectacular. And I just remember it's one of my most favorite memories now is just so tender of just sitting on her back patio with the breeze. And, she has total shaved hair and she's so weak and she's
Mm-hmm.
so skinny and frail. And I just thought, this is a sacred, holy moment. I feel
Mm-hmm.
honored that I get to be invited to this and to sit in this with her. And I'm going to be there. I'm just going to be there.
And
And yeah.
and that gesture is a very friendship deepening
Mm-hmm.
action that you took, going and visiting someone in their time of need.
Mm-hmm.
That will, um, that is a very, I'd say, a very deep investment in a friend. They do
Yeah.
not forget those things.
Yeah.
Of course, it depends on the person, but as a general principle, showing up for people, our
Yeah.
people, when they are having
Mm-hmm.
a difficult time, it can really mean the world. It feels like it's like a 10x investment rather than if everybody was healthy and fine and happy. And
Yeah. And when you're sick, or not feeling well or something's happening and you're scared, do you really like to hold out your hand and say, can someone please come spend time with me and just sit with me? I remember needing that so badly when my father passed away. And I thought, I've got so many friends, but nobody knows what to do with grief. And they think you want to be left alone. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't want to be harassed. I don't want to be, over talked to, but I don't want to be left alone. I want someone to drop by and say, can I just sit with you for a little bit so that you know you're not alone?
Mhm. It is such a vulnerable time. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have to weigh it out as to whether or not it worked for you. But um, if I had been your therapist in that moment, I would have said, can we just sit and just look through your phone at your contacts
Mm.
Pick out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people to
Mm-hmm.
send a group text to, and
Mm.
just, hey, just wanted to put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody's in the neighborhood and just wants to sit, I
Mm-hmm.
would love for you to come and sit with me.
Mm.
And sometimes it's very surprising how many positive responses you get back.
I wish
And
I knew to do that.
the reason I
Yeah.
have strategy behind the group thing,
Mm-hmm.
they get to see how other people respond, because there's going to be one person on there who is more comfortable with grief.
Mm.
Whereas the other ones, that other people who, in our culture,
Mm-hmm.
it's insane when you think about this just globally,
Mm-hmm.
that lots of us have not lost people close to us. And
Mm-hmm.
so some of us can be very unfamiliar with death, dying, and the grief process.
Mm-hmm.
And people can be very shy because they don't want to lean in too hard or do the wrong thing. And so they will avoid,
Mm-hmm.
which feels like it feels like rejection or abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is not that person's heart at all, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel competent, and they will avoid. And so sometimes putting a really simple request out there like that,
Mm-hmm.
it make those people, it can kind of give them a job. Oh, I can do that for Heather. Okay.
Yeah.
It's cute. Or
I
they,
love that.
yeah.
I wish I would have known that, because I do think there's a certain amount of ownness we have to
Mm,
educate people on what we need. We can't just expect people to know. That's not fair to any relationship. So
yeah.
I think I was so thrown by the overwhelming grief. And then I know I got tired of this comment. Just let me know if there's anything I can do.
Yep.
I can't and I won't. That's too awkward for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give me 3 options and let me choose option A, B, or C, that feels like more intentionality coming toward me. And then also being more clear on, I know now what I need, but that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I I have clarity now of what I need. And I think I would send out a text saying, could someone do this? But I was so overwhelmed by the grief. I didn't even know what I needed. I just know I was getting overwhelmed with food getting dropped off.
So
When
much.
when I really needed fill in the blank back then, I was like, I know I don't need this, but and I couldn't get there. Now I
Mm-hmm.
look back on it and I go, I just needed someone to sit with me for a little bit and make me
Mm-hmm.
not quite feel quite as alone and not have a lot of words and
Mm-hmm.
maybe sit in nature with me.
Yes.
I just needed some, just like I'm going through shock.
Mm-hmm.
The shock of devastating grief is a lot. That is so, like, you're unprepared for that. And I guess that would go back to your question earlier of what are some things that block friendships and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us don't know what to do in the middle of a shocking crisis, especially with your first time.
Totally true. The stories that I hear of friends that basically break up over, this is the opposite. This is, I mean, and we did want to talk about what does it look like to let go of friendships that are no longer um, feeling healthy or positive or functional. But yeah, if a best friend drops the ball on a close friend of theirs when they have a big crisis, that it really creates a big rift that they have to work out.
Mm.
I do want to add to your point earlier, when you referenced going to visit your friend with cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and how you gently just kind of felt out the situation by asking the husband, which is so smart, because he knows he can just shoot you straight, like,
Mm-hmm.
no, nope, nope,
Yeah.
and it's fine. And then you got the green light,
Mm-hmm.
and you said, I'm there. That it feels very egoless. There's no ego hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The ego is sitting back, and your heart, your true self, is able to say, do you want me close? Do you want some space? Cool. I'm cool with both. Love you. Catch you later.
Mm-hmm.
You just tell me, and I'm got it for you.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm just here. I'm here, and then whatever capacity that here looks like, if it's near, if it's far, and I'll still be here when you come out of this, and we'll be able to pick up however you need. Yeah, you're right. I think that maybe some other baggage, our ego gets in play where we want we want something out of it if we're totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to really be honest with ourselves, saying, there's nothing here that is about me in this moment when a friend is in crisis. There may be something more here that's for me in just a normal season. But when a friend is in crisis, the more you can just completely eradicate your ego or your own insecurities, you serve in a very altruistic place that says, these are the options of what I can offer. And I remember even, she lives about a half hour away, and I remember people were dropping off food, and I realized I can hardly cook for myself, Kelley. That is not my capacity, but I don't want her to feel forgotten. I was like, what can I do? I sent her, a gift card for DoorDash.
Right.
And she thanked me, and her husband thanked me later, just saying, thank you. That was so fun to choose something. And I thought, that's what I was going for. I felt a little guilty that there was nothing homemade, but
anyway, I feel like COVID ruined taking people homemade food.
So
I
true.
totally used to take people homemade food. I was raised in Alabama, and COVID hit, and I'm like, well, everybody thinks everything from anybody else's kitchen is totally full of germs. I never went back. I switched to the gift cards at that point. But also giving somebody like the DoorDash or Grubhub gift card, you are totally taking away the guilt.
Yes.
Because how I don't know about everybody else, but there's guilt around. Yeah. I'm going to pay extra to have somebody drive it and just hand it to me. And so anyway.
That's what she said. She said, I didn't even mind having the extra being paid, and her child was home from college at the time. And so it was special for him to be able to experience, for them, it was a luxury to have it delivered to the door. And I think we're in the same generation. We're like, I ain't paying an extra $10 for that. I'm going, 2 miles down the street and saving that. I probably spent it in gas, but
Totally.
So yeah, you're right on.
I know it's not exactly the direction we're going. I just want to loop back very quickly on, I think it's the bereavement, grief and loss therapist in me.
Yeah.
Heather, I just wanted to hear you repeat the point about, instead of saying, let me know if there's anything I can do.
Yeah.
Which I don't mean to tear that down totally. I have totally torn that down in my history. But when I watch people actually saying it, I look in their eyes and I think, oh, they just don't know what else to say.
Right.
And they do. That's their way of saying, I'm so sorry. And I'm with you and I care about you. It's their way of doing that. But we've got to get our culture out of the habit of saying that and into what you said of, here, I've got these 3 options for you. Or maybe just pick one and send it. And even if it's not desirable, that is still, you have put some energy, effort, money into showing up for them.
You're so right, Kelley, because that was my big takeaway from, and that was probably one of the biggest losses that I had gone through at that level, losing your first parent, and especially the one you're real close to. And I just remember some takeaways from that going, I will never say that phrase. Let me know if there's anything you can do. Yeah. I will take the responsibility to think about it myself. And I think about this same friend where I gathered a bunch of friends together and I said, I already know that we get overwhelmed with the food getting dropped off, because that was my other takeaway. I said, how about I've done some research. I had another friend who went through chemo, asked her to give me all the top products for what to do with chemo. And how about we put together a gift basket? You want to go in on it? So we did all of that in this beautiful big gift basket of this chemo product that I had never known. It was stuff I would have never bought her because I didn't know, but I actually went and got educated on it by someone else. And she goes, oh, Heath, I'm so glad you asked. I got so sick of the food, the journals, and the candles all being dropped off my house when I needed this mouthwash because my mouth was so dry. I needed these socks. She told me all the stuff. And then it was before she went into chemo. She didn't even know she needed it. She went into chemo and she sent this thank you note to all of us going, I had no idea that I needed all this stuff. Everything in that basket I used.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not sitting there patting myself on the back, but that was my takeaway going, no, I'm going to think for myself of what's coming down the road for you. Yeah. And then I'm going to go get educated on some products for you. And then I'm going to rally some of the other friends who were all talking about getting up a meal train. P.S. She couldn't eat. So who wants all this food getting dropped off?
Yeah.
So again, it's
No
like,
bacon and
yeah,
indeed. Mm-hmm.
yeah, she couldn't eat because of the nausea. So I thought, let's find out what she does need. And in this moment, she's never been through chemo, but let's find out people who have been through chemo. Let's ask them. Let's pool our funds. And let's get this in front of her. So now it just reminds me of that story in the scriptures where they're lowering the paralytic down through the ceiling. And they're saying, we're going to take matters in our own hands. We're going to take care of his friend right now. We're not going to ask him. We're going to get this taken care of. And that's a little bit my personality. I'm like, you're going to chemo? Well, I know I'd want to be prepared. I hope someone does this for me. I'm going to help get you prepared. And we're going to figure out what this is.
It's practical. You're just talking about practical things. And I think I can get intimidated about gift giving because I don't feel like I'm just the talented gift giver. Like some of my friends are so thoughtful.
Yeah.
It's so unique and so special. And that is not my forte. But yes, just thinking through what are someone's practical needs? What is something that can just help them get through this hour, or that might bring some relief, or it might just be funny.
Yeah.
But practical needs are wonderful. And no, and I do not hear that as own horn tooting. I hear that as I've started reading a book about Native American women elders and their traditions and their views and what they're passing along. And it's so beautiful. And so I just think anything you and I have learned about how to get better at loving people, we got to share it, because you can get really good at loving people. And how often do you want to do something loving, but you just don't, you feel clueless and you just have no idea.
Yeah. So, and to your point earlier, you're right. I don't want to put anyone down who said, let me know if there's anything I can do. They don't know what else to say. I did realize I'm going to have some answers ready. I didn't even know what to say. I would just stare at them and I'm like, do they really mean it? Do they not mean it? And I realized that I wish I would have had some answers ready I just would love to have someone come sit with me for about 2 hours Wednesday afternoon because I'm so sad. And my world just feels like the light just went out. I wish I would have had that clarity to have that ready. And I will for my next grief. In fact, I did for my second parent dying. I had a little bit more clarity of how I wanted help and support. And to your point, people do want to know. And it's never as big as anyone thinks it is. It's just so special. Right. I remember even just sitting on the patio with her and I said, this is just my speed. I just wanted to affirm. I don't care if we just sit there and stare out into space for 2 hours. This actually does me good too. It does my soul good. And so being able to be comfortable with the fact that how we show up gets to get worked out with ourselves, and it gets to get worked out with the other person, and just be okay with the fumbling. Totally. You're just kind of fumbling through it. I wasn't sure what this is going to look like. And I was a little shocked when I saw how sick she looked, but man, I just wanted to scoop her up and hug her and I'm here. I'm here until whatever this looks like, I'm here. And I think that we just don't know how to be there in the moment. And I want to just say, more than you realize, going back to your question about the barrier, more than you think. If you reflect back on what it is that you needed, it's typically what they needed.
Totally true. That's so good. Okay. Well, returning back to our original topic of friendship.
Yes. Yeah. We took like a side course there, didn't we?
Well, it was a beautiful side course.
Yes.
Heather, why I notice people feeling shame around the topic of, I don't have as many friends as I would like to have, or some of my old friends have kind of, pulled away. Why do you feel like people have shame around just even bringing this up as a topic?
Well, I've actually started asking them because you and I both know that shame is debilitating, and the quicker we can get it out of someone's heart and head, the more we'll be able to move forward. And it reminds me of a conversation I was just having last week. And I was talking with the client, and she was very terrified of going and having this conversation with these leaders in the company. And I go, why? You've been there for like 4 years. What are you nervous about? And she said, I'm so nervous that they're going to want to fire me. I said, what? It was so irrational. And I'm very involved in the company. And then she quickly said, because this happened in my last job.
Oh.
So to your point around shame, I think there's this baggage that we carry because all of us have a heartbreaking story that maybe we didn't either get it resolved or we think this is now the norm, or what I call a false belief that we're going to get this is going to be the new behavior treated toward us. And so I just remember looking into the camera and just very clearly saying, that's not who they are. I know these people. That's not who they are. And this is not the company that you're part of. And you don't have to worry about that. That's actually something that you had to encounter in another work relationship. And I just saw her completely relaxed. She goes, oh, good. But because of that fear that was going to happen to her, it was turned into this shame that it was already happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And since we have all been children, we have all been high schoolers. We've been single adults. Most of us have endured dating. There have been rejections. There have been losses. There have been people who heard you liked them and they said, no, thank you. And you had to just keep walking on and figuring out what to do with your little heart the rest of that.
Yes.
And so, to your point, we have past learning. We all have past learning around it not going well always. And so it is truly, it's so vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
To think about facing that again. So just to update the people who it's vulnerable and there's not really a way around that. Then I'd say making sure you're initiating with somebody who you have already felt a sense of warmth from. And that tends to go a whole lot better because, sometimes we're drawn to people who aren't necessarily warm towards us, but we want something. We want their approval. We want to know that they think that we are as cool as them. And if we can just get them to approve of us and like us, then we'll feel worthy and like somebody. Those are the relationships that are totally doomed to fail. It's just starting off on the wrong foot. Does that make sense? Do you have thoughts about that?
Yeah, I do. That's so well said. And I think here's the hard reality. Sometimes it does go really wrong. So I guess I want to speak to that. When I know I've got to step into a conversation where I'm fearful that it will go wrong, I don't want it to exacerbate my shame. So I will tell a safe party outside that says, I'm going to go have this hard conversation. I don't know how this is going to go. But it's like my lifeline. Like I'm hanging on to that. And I've gone and it's gone both ways. It's like, not only was it as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was worse. And all I could think of is I'm so glad I told somebody about this because I've got to go figure out how to pull myself back together after this conversation. And that could be a trusted friend. For me, it's my husband quite a bit. It could be a counselor where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have it. I'll talk to you next Friday. Whatever it is, like, I don't want anyone to feel any shame, going back to that word, that they need a lifeline to go have some of these hard conversations. And then this is where my favorite ones and I get to be that lifeline for a lot of people, but I have my own lifelines. But when it goes well, they get to come back and I get to celebrate with them that they realize they were the only ones stopping this process. They were the only block in this relationship. And they had, they just mustered up enough courage to get in there and say those words. And they got to really address some false beliefs that had just been lingering way too long about themselves and about the other person. But I would just say, I think a big mitigator for shame is making sure you have a lifeline before you try out some of these new conversations.
Girl, that's huge. It's like an insurance policy
for
your emotional world.
Yeah.
Because I bet most of your listeners are tenderhearted or
Yes.
just have a sensitive, perceptive
Yeah.
heart, gut, and we hurt more.
Mm-hmm.
Really do hurt more when things do not go well.
Exactly. And a high emotional intelligence. It doesn't make sense. At some point, you have to say, I don't know why this doesn't make sense, or I don't know why they don't want to have a relationship with me. I don't know why they don't want to work on this, but I can't keep trying to figure it out.
No.
And that lifeline's the one that helps me unhook, because going back to the shame, maybe if I said it this way, maybe if I do this, we're so uncomfortable with the rejection that we think we have to fix something. And that lifeline says, sweetie, you've done everything you possibly can. It's time now to start pivoting away from this individual and letting go and trusting it and grieving the loss of this, but not taking the responsibility for the loss, even if they try and put it on you.
Totally. Heather, where do you feel like adults can turn to look for new relationships? Do you believe deepening current relationships is such a great idea? And that might be, I'll talk about that really quick. That might be, somebody that you just run into at the kids' soccer games, but you genuinely like them, asking them if they want to go on a walk. And if the other person, if they don't respond or they say yes and cancel, I just say, take that as like a soft no and just leave it, because you haven't put yourself out there very much. And you've sent the memo that you'd love to do something else and hang out with them, but you're not going to push on it. So I love thinking of ways to deepen current friendships that you value. But thoughts on making whole, fresh, brand new friends out there in this world?
Yeah, it depends what your personality is. And I'll just, so I can speak for myself. My personality is the type that I make friends better one-on-one. Once I got clarity on that, I've watched some make it really well in groups. I don't. I think I stay kind of, maybe I'm just really group aware and I'm just trying to take care of everybody, or I'm trying to manage my own positioning in the group, whatever. It's very distracting to me, the groups. If I want if I want a friendship that I want to cultivate, it's the one-on-one. So I'll ask them, probably my most sacred space is if I invite you to my house, that means I'm serious. If I want to meet you out for coffee, I'm kind of testing it out.
Yeah, you can leave at any time.
Yeah, it's almost like dating, right? And if I really want it, I'll go meet you for dinner, because that's a little bit more of an investment. So I start around there. The other thing I'm liking is I learn a lot by just taking a walk with people, and I've got a 2-mile route and I just invite people on the walk. And there's some that I go, that was fun, but I don't know if I'll do it again. And there's others where I'm thinking, okay, we just found out we both love whatever, pickleball. So our next date together is going to be pickleball. Or we just found out that our husbands have something in common. Let's see if we can get the 4 of us together. Yes. So it's in the walk that you're kind of looking for that next little baby step, or it's in that coffee date you're looking for if there's a connection. And the funny thing is I'm learning is that there's been very few where I have said, I don't think we really connect. And then they kept pursuing me. I didn't really experience it. I think we both kind of knew.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was a negative experience. It was just more of like, oh, we don't have that much in common. But that was fun. And we all just kind of like no harm, no foul, and moving on. I've noticed some people feel responsible for that. Like they have to have a second conversation or a second date, so to speak. But it's kind of like dating people. And you just you try that first date and you see how it goes. And you try kind of playing together. You see how it goes. And then I will say, this friend with cancer, we're actually kind of new friends. I think it's only 2 years old, but when the crisis hit, you're talking about accelerating a friendship.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I'm telling you, I think we're probably gonna be friends for life now, just because of what she's going through and really her inviting me into it because of just the need that is there. And so I think it's just being aware of life circumstances. And the other thing too is like when you find out on that walk or that coffee date, I'm always surprised how much everybody's caring. There's
Yeah.
usually a private pain
Yes.
that people are carrying. And when they feel your love and your care and your authenticity, they whisper it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I'm getting ready to leave my husband, or
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I had a miscarriage. You know, they say these things to you that you're like, I'm so glad we had some sacred time together to slow down, or I'm really lonely,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm scared because my kid's going to college and I don't know what to do after that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's carrying something. And if you really give people the time, the love, and the care, they'll usually open up because we're all looking to be loved, heard, and valued. And I think I'm finishing up that point, Kelley. I saw someone in my life that kept saying, I don't have any friends. I don't have any friends. And I go, are you taking time to sit down and really invite people into your world? Or do you just expecting them to just drop into your life? She was expecting them just to kind of drop in their life and they'd be friends, but she wasn't willing to actually take the initiative to cultivate it. Friends take work. They take some intentionality. And are you willing to really put in that time and that effort? And when the chips are down, are you really willing to put in that time or effort?
Mm-hmm.
So these are all things I'm thinking about.
Those are awesome. And I love those points. Suffering truly, it really reveals character.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's just kind of they're just more of a party friend. They just want the good times and the fun. But they think it's a drag to go and sit with a sick person or talk to their friend after a breakup or during a depressive episode. It weeds those people out. So you can have a crisis and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Your people who draws near.
Yeah.
As you were talking, I was thinking intentional. So we said some seasons have intentionality. I was just thinking intentional mindfulness around helping a relationship progress forwards. Not force, not control. We can feel where the motivation's coming from. And even if we just think, there's something funny about that, or I just feel a lot of pressure to hang out. That's not what it is. It is fun to joke about. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with her. I want her to be my friend. I'm going to stalk her a little bit and see where I can maybe just run into her and have a conversation. And so I might joke about that. And I did have a friend in Denver we tend to celebrate our friendship anniversary because it's only like 4 years or something like that. But she sent me a text summer of, I guess that'd be 2021. And said, I would like to become friends with you. How's July?
Oh. I love
it. And I said, July's no good. How about August?
Oh.
And we hung out in August and we are dear friends. We just
love that.
Each other's names enough in overlapping circles. But
I love that. I love that because she took the initiative and then she wanted to put on the calendar, but she stated clearly what she needed. And I think what a takeaway that is. I might even try that with somebody, but I think we get so fearful of saying, I want to be friends. Do you want to be friends with me? Yeah. But how many of us would be endeared to that? I would be endeared to that.
Gosh, it's so precious.
Yeah.
It's really precious. Oh, that brings up one other thought. My husband has a saying that like somebody's Lego is full, kind of like if you've only got so many spots on your calendar in your life. Some of us are very full of people, and some of us are kind of between. I call that having friendship openings. And it doesn't, we don't have to be embarrassed about it at all. It's just an opening I have in my organization, and I'm seeking high quality applicants.
Yes.
But that is something people can truly feel like a chemistry with each other. But if if one of their lives is just way too full, like they have triplets that are 5, that person has zero space unless you are just going to offer to be their babysitter or clean their house. For the next 5 years. I'm not saying write them off. Do not. I'm just saying, or some people live with, their extended family or, all around them on the neighboring neighborhoods, and they just always have lots of cousins and siblings around. I'm sure you really can have great chemistry with them. But if they're busy every Friday and Saturday night, that's just not who you pursue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I think time speaks.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you can't get together, maybe it's like twice a year, I've got long distance friends. I make sure that when we do get together, I do make sure that that is a priority for me. So I think it's that awareness that we can only give what we can give, but let's be honest on the front end. Then it lets the other person just accept and really readjust expectations. I think I talked about this in our last conversation where I started learning how to just say, I'm not a really good type of friend to talk to with on the phone every day.
Yeah.
And part of me, because I don't like to, because I'm doing it all day long, I'm talking to people, but I'm telling you, here's what I am good at, and I would tell them that. And it just let people off the hook, but it also, what I realized, it saved me a world of hurt where I wasn't being honest at the front end. I was like, oh, you want me to talk every day? Okay, I'll try and keep up with that. Well, I couldn't, and I didn't like it, and it didn't go well for me, but I was too afraid to be honest with the fact that I don't like this. And then the friend got hurt, and then I was like, oh, phew, if I'm out of that. It's ridiculous, right? Yes. I realized I need to own this a little better and say, this is the type of friend I am. I am the type that will be there when the chips are down. I am the type that knows how to stay in it. I have a lot of long-term friends, but I'm not the type that probably talks on the phone every day and just wants to check in with you. And some people really like that.
Yes. And they need to find each other.
Exactly. Which
I have had what do I want to say here? I have a best friend from high school, and we talk on the phone so frequently, and I don't have that relationship with anybody else.
Yeah.
But we literally do chores, like with the other person in our AirPod, and we just think of the little piddly things we want to tell each other, or something silly that the neighbor cat did. I mean, and it's like, how do you guys talk so much?
Yeah.
And we're quiet half the time. We're just being each other. We just have known each other for so long. She's an only child, so I step in as a sibling there.
That's so cool.
It's super important to be honest with yourself first, and then them about what's draining to you. Because I think we've all tried to do songs and dances to keep up a relationship.
Yeah.
That when you stop, if it doesn't continue, it just didn't have enough.
Yeah.
It didn't have enough of its own power.
Well, and I wish too, and looking back too, I think I could have been a little bit more honest when my seasons of life changed, like when I went from a stay-at-home mom to a working mom. I couldn't keep up like the daily trips to the gym with some of my friends, and I loved it, but it's just, I couldn't do it anymore. And so I wish I would have been a little bit more honest about, hey, everything's shifting. It doesn't mean I like you any less. My life's going to take off now in a torpedo.
Yeah.
And you've known me as a stay-at-home mom, so to speak, or you've known me as this, and that's not who really I'm going to be anymore. And I hope we can still stay friends. And some could not take that adjustment with me. And I would take ownership of the fact I probably could have spoken to some of that a little bit better. But, hindsight's 20/20.
That's the wisdom of hindsight.
Yeah.
But that's a great nugget. I'm just super into wisdom nuggets. That's a great nugget of naming. I'll call it narrating your life stage that you're in. And it can just help it feel clearer to everybody around you what capacity.
Yep. Well, my friend, as we wrap up, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take the wheel back again. You've done amazing interviewing me.
Yay. Yeah, that was so really fun. Nicely.
It did.
I think it deepened our friendship that you've had me on your podcast twice.
I think so too. I think we need to set up a friendship date.
Oh, that's so great.
I would love that.
That'd be so fun.
We got to get us both slowing down long enough, don't we? Dear
Lord. Well, prom is behind me, so.
That's right.
Okay, sorry. You have the wheel.
Yes. I think that's where I just want to kind of land it, just saying relationships are so important, and you're probably more in the driver's seat than you realize. I think once I got out of tap dancing for so many relationships years ago, and Kelley, actually, you were instrumental in helping me with that. I was spending a lot of energy managing relationships versus enjoying them. And I think once I shifted from kind of the enduring to enjoying, I realized, oh, I had been kind of groomed as a child to keep relationships in a certain manner. But I see it now more as it's really 50-50. I don't want to become so self-absorbed that it's all about me, but I also need to keep me in the equation. And I don't not keep asking, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? I do love serving and helping and caring for people, but I have to learn how to state what it is that I need. And that was part of my journey in moving into healthier and healthier relationships, being able to say, this is what helps and this is what does not help. What's your probably one nugget you want to leave for everybody to kind of take away?
So glad you said that one. Yeah, just not trying too hard in any one direction. Like pulling away and avoiding or withdrawing is an energy that people can feel. Leaning in too hard, trying too hard is an energy that people can feel. So I like the mindful intentionality, just being present, but knowing that our personalities really, our essences, they really come through more than we think they do. And so people will think, I'm supposed to say something really smart, or I'm supposed to say something funny, or I do need to be the helper to be for this group to want to keep this person. But really just like all of our mamas, all the good mamas, just be yourself.
Yeah, just be yourself.
And you're going to draw to yourself who's the best fit. And you will repel from yourself those who are not a good fit.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
That was fun.
What's that?
That was fun. It was a fun conversation.
Was super fun. Well, everybody, we are cheering you on. Thanks for joining us today. And we really do want to see your relationships thrive. So whatever you can do to move into that next baby step that Kelley kind of calls it, that's what we want to see you do. See you guys.